I did it. I practiced what I preach. I shot a short film. You should watch it first. There's a fun little twist, practical special effect. At the end of that video, there's a link right back here. Behind the scenes will be a really ideal companion for the short film. If you're a creative person, dare I say, an artist, there is something inside you, maybe an illness, maybe an addiction that makes you want to make stuff, and it makes you feel not good when you don't make stuff. I kind of picture it like a well that you're drawing from, and sometimes that well goes dry. Clients, I love you guys, but it draws a little bit from your well. Some people say one for them, one for me, meaning one client project, one personal creative project, or two for them, one for me. I did some thinking and looking back, and it's been like 4 years since I shot a short film that is just for me from here. So my focus on working on creative projects is trying to rediscover what I create without a lot of external inputs. That palette cleanser that tells me, you know what, I'm all right. Over the years, I've come up with lots of ideas. My job for over 10 years in advertising was just literally coming up with ideas. I can almost do it like a party trick, but that party trick gets old. You can have all the ideas you want, but if you're not producing any of them, do they even matter? Does an idea even really exist if you're not going to execute it? I started talking to people less about the ideas I wanted to shoot and more about how do I just shoot these? Filmmaking takes a village, and with a lot of people around me cheering me on, we put a date in the calendar and treated it like a client project. We sat ourselves down, and Abby, my producer, sort of like made me really focus. I knew I wanted to shoot something with my daughter and her friend to be misbehaving in some way. I was visualizing them like sneaking out of a house or a window late at night. I started to look back into my past experience at places you're not supposed to misbehave, church being one of them. And I just remembered crawling under the pews, running over the pews, and started to formulate an idea, a story. Well, I very quickly wrote up the script. My daughter was excited to do it. Her friend was. A script is a little bit lonely on its own. So when you build a bit of a package around it, people know what your tone is. And I just dove into making a treatment. Because I was so busy, the treatment isn't super detailed. But I at least like to put something together beyond the script, something visual. So once I had that treatment together, I passed it along to Victor, who's a director of photography, cinematographer. He looked through it and he said, let's go. We talked about what kind of camera we could use. I'm always a fan of keeping cameras cheap. Victor and I shot this project for St. Michael's Hospital in Toronto earlier this year, and we shot it on my Sony a7S III. It looks beautiful. We had the privilege of working with Andrew Ross from Alter Ego to color grade it, and he's a pro. He's worked on little films like Furiosa, and it was really cool even to talk to him about these cheap 10-bit cameras that a lot of us and a lot of people watching on YouTube are using, like an FX3. He can literally show me as he pulls an image apart to see where it breaks and where he can work around that. And so even though we were shooting on my Sigma 24-70 zoom lens, Andrew was able to add some character to make it something special. I love working with talented people. The next project I worked on this year, I shot on my a7S III again because it was a low-budget commercial, and we poured all the money into production design. And Ian, who helped us with our Sasquatch commercial for Maddie a couple years ago, he was game to play around with my a7S III, and the autofocus just makes it easy. For my short, we could have shot on an Alexa, but as soon as we get an Alexa, all of a sudden I need a camera assistant, I need bigger battery system, the data's bigger, everything just sort of expands. So even if I got a free camera, it would probably have cost me a couple grand by the end of the day. Even the tripod, it won't sit on the tripod I own. We were super lucky that a local production company and friend donated their FX3. Built-in ND filters are great. Taipak reached out to me. This is not an ad. They have not paid me. I used their lenses and I'm sending them back. They're the first prime cinema, low budget series of lenses that had like some fun, interesting character. The lenses were great. So to get these in my hands and to play with cinema lenses is really nice. But it did throw a wrench in our shoot because they're fully manual. One of the benefits of shooting on an FX6 or an A7S III or FX3 is Sony's bulletproof autofocus. And that would have come in handy on a shoot like this where we just are able to tap on our subject, and it would have taken some stress off of Victor, but we didn't. And he did a pretty amazing job pulling focus while operating the camera without an AC. We're all spoiled on projects where he's got a focus puller, but I was comfortable with it because I knew the shots that I was looking for. I edited this myself. This short was mostly montagey. As long as we have a moment of focus, finding these little beats, it'll all work in a montage. The lenses themselves were great. The video that shows off these lenses more is my video on boredom or solitude that I did a couple of videos ago. That actually gave me a chance to walk around myself with the camera and to take some shots. These lenses are not for vlogging, they're for dedicated narrative stories. If I was doing a talking head documentary, I would still probably use my autofocus lenses for the talking head part, just so I know that I've got bulletproof focus from top to bottom. But where these would come in handy is for the B-roll, where I can operate the camera myself, where I've got focus peaking on and I can pull focus and get those really beautiful B-roll shots. They're special occasion lenses. Did they make the shoot easier? Not at all. Did they make the images look better? Yes. I think there's just sort of like a value proposition you have to weigh in your mind. I live about an hour and a half away from Toronto. So for wardrobe, we tried to find it locally. I was originally going for this Little House on the Prairie vibe, but I couldn't find anything that I loved. I started looking at local theaters, but I had in the back of my mind a sort of an openness to go sort of mid-century. The time period on this wasn't too important, so I was pretty flexible. We ended up finding a choir gown at the local theater. And then my wife remembered that we had a rack of vintage dresses stashed in the back of my dad's barn, literally a barn find wardrobe. What we usually do for a big production is we do a tech scout. On this one, I didn't want to drive everyone down from Toronto, so I went a few days earlier, and what I did do is use that as an excuse to get the girls in the location so they're comfortable with it, and to do a bit of a rehearsal so they weren't showing up on the day wondering what's going to happen. We just walked through the whole short film, and I took shots with my camera to use as storyboard frames, my shooting boards. I like having at least one big production value hit of like, how did he do this? I think we hit 3. The first one is the church. I was worried about, talking to a minister and saying, I want to do an exorcism at the front of your church. And Drew, who was editing a video for me, said, I shot a horror short spec piece at a church locally. And we went and we checked that church out and they were game. It's not an active church anymore. It would cost at least 10 times what we paid for this to shoot at a church in Toronto. The next big production value hit was the light. One of our main investments was hiring a gaffer. We needed a big light to blast through the windows. And on a big production, you would get a big cherry picker. It would get delivered on a giant trailer and you would put a 10K or a 18K light on it and just drive it around where you needed. It would have probably cost me over $1,000. So with a suggestion from a friend, I learned about a tow behind boom. I borrowed my dad's truck, picked it up and brought it to set. The only downside of it is that you need to hook it up to the truck if you want to move it, so it's not as versatile. We used his Joker 1600, which is an HMI as opposed to like a Aperture 1200D or 1200X LED light. The Joker runs on household power, so I could get a really cheap generator. Robin said that an HMI is always his choice for making sunlight. And then the third big hit of production value on this is, of course, the levitation scene. God or the devil, whoever you want to give the credit to, made my daughter Edith levitate. I was thinking about like a seesaw teeter-totter sort of thing. And then I spoke with Jonah. He actually played the Sasquatch in our short film. He came up through the circus arts. He performed with Cirque du Soleil and has a lot of experience rigging. I did a quick test with some combo stands I have and my daughter and rigged her up. And then I brought those stands over to Jonah and he had it all rigged up. He had it really safe. He built a goalpost with some pipes and my stands were there to just balance it. I feel so lucky. That would have been a big ordeal. I'm 250 pounds, so I'm a perfect counterweight to really just go up and down a ladder and pull my daughter up. I also wanted to be the one doing that for safety reasons. But the downside is that I couldn't see the monitor very well. Going into the edit, I realized that as her feet were dragging on the floor, they were creating a bit of a resistance that made her swing. And I really cut out the last frame possible before you could really see that she was swinging. Like when you look back at The Exorcist and you see her swinging a little bit in the air, it takes the magic out of it. In the messiness of the day, I forgot to shoot off speed for that scene. So in post, I slowed down the last half of her being lifted to just create a bit of a magical feel. The other miss from the exorcism scene is when Edith is convulsing on the floor. We did that with the harness on for some stupid reason. That would have saved me from doing a stand removal. The other misses were that I wanted the opening scene before they start running to be on a dolly, so it seems a bit more reverent and a bit more smooth, and the handheld doesn't start until they're running. Details you're trying to keep all in your head when you don't plan as well as you should have. A couple other misses are that we crossed the line a few times. You know, the 180-degree rule of eye line. Right off the top, we're in front of the girls, and then we sort of cross a line to get that wide shot. Because it's such a wide and drastic shot, I think it works fine. There's a moment when Sammy watches Edith raise off the ground. The rest of the shots in that sequence, her eye line is on the other side of the camera. So I needed to cut to that wide as sort of a palette cleanser, so that when we cut back in and we've crossed that line, we're starting fresh. The edit came together pretty easily. Alter Ego hosted us for a few hours, which is super cool to be in their suite doing a top level color grade on a video I made with my daughter. It was pretty cool. When we were doing the audio mix and we recorded some ADR giggling and laughing and talking, the line, "What are you doing?" It wasn't even recorded on the day. Their mouths aren't moving. One of the interesting things was how the sound design did not work well over the montage. It didn't feel right. The montage was about the music, and only choice things like the pop of the cork or the kiss break through. But general sound design, rustling, we ended up pushing all of that to the back of the mix for the montage. It is funny though, working on this short film, because I constantly felt like I should look over my shoulder for permission to move on. And that to me is one of the nicest things about doing something for yourself. You can just say, we got it. I still always ask my crew if I missed something. I can't make this without a whole team of people who are invested. So it very quickly becomes our project. They're on set all the time. They see what people are doing, problems they're facing, and solutions they're finding. If I decided to be offended when anyone offered me any sort of advice, the end product would be weaker. Every project teaches you so much. You can learn as much theory as you want. You can spend as much time studying on YouTube. You can read about what your heroes do. But until you're actually doing the thing, none of it matters. The projects always work out, but I look back and I can see things that I can improve. And my philosophy now is to fix it on the next project. What we thought was difficult on this one will be easy on the next one, and then we'll move to that next level. Just because you know all the rules of a sport, you know the history, you know all the trivia, that doesn't mean you're going to be a good player if you've never actually picked up the bat, the ball, the stick. So when it comes to filmmaking, just pick up the camera and start practicing.